All right, Cris, Broussard, how should the Lakers handle Lonzo? What is the best approach to how they can either make him fit in with the Lakers better or just make him a better basketball player?
I don't know where you guys stand on this, but I heard the tease G League. No way, no how. I'm not trying to be Rob Parker, but G League? Is that you thinking G League?
Yeah.
What I say about Lonzo Ball with the Lakers, leave him alone. Let him play. Let him do exactly what he's doing. He is averaging 9 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. I know his shooting is horrible, but he's become the youngest player ever to have a triple-double. He's had 2 triple-doubles, the first Laker since Magic Johnson, maybe the first rookie overall in 20 games. His second game, he goes for 29 points, falls, 1 assist or shy of a triple-double.
Yeah.
And we're acting like he's been horrible. Now, if you look at the history of the NBA, there have been tremendous point guards who struggled early. Steve Nash came off the bench his first 2 years. Gary Payton averaged 8 points, 6 assists his first 2 years. Chauncey Billups was with 4 teams and a bust for 5 years before going to Detroit.
But none of those guys were anointed the way this guy was, that he was going to come in and be the next fresh face of the biggest team in one of the biggest cities.
And that's the problem.
The stories,
right?
Because of his dad, there is over scrutiny.
And because of the Lakers and
some of the
Magic.
Lakers.
I mean, it's like
Magic played
it was like
into
a domino. Magic Johnson just took over. They made it, but man, we want this kid. He's an LA kid.
We figured if they want to,
I mean, they needed showtime. But one thing that I want to point out that I think has become a detriment, that was a skill set that you and I, because we went to watch him play live at UCLA, right. Poly Pavilion. We saw it. He was such an unselfish player. He'd get the rebound, or someone else get the rebound, give it to him. Man, he was apt to throw the ball 45 feet up. But that doesn't transfer to the pro game, and you don't see him doing that. So something that used to be a huge plus for him, I see him every game make the same mistakes over and over. You're the point guard. Yeah. Run the offense. Push the tempo. You can't throw the ball up the way you used to. So for me, my biggest problem is, no, I don't want him to go to the G League. I just want him to play smarter. I want the coaches, and I worry about that with that young staff. Yeah, play him, but play him the right way. And you have to play him at the end of games. The reason why, because the overall value, if you have success with him, it doubles because they're in critical times. And visually, it's not good for a superstar player to be sitting there watching the fourth quarter for the most part in these critical games.
All right, and as you were saying that, they were showing highlights of him playing at the end of the game and taking 2 terrible three-pointers. Now, I agree with you. If he's going to stay up on this level, he needs to play at the end of games, but that's what they're going to get from him. You mentioned 9, 7, and 7. That's just points, rebounds, assists. I'm going to give you a different set of numbers. 31%, 24%, 43%. That's field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage. That makes him the league's worst high-volume 3-point shooter, the league's worst high-volume free throw shooter as a guard. And I'm going to focus and hone in on the free throw percentage. And here's why. That, to me, is a sign of a guy whose confidence is
That's a game
lost.
changer.
He was in the mid to high 60s in college. Yeah. So he wasn't a guy that was going to come into the league and shoot 85% from the line. I get it. The hitch in his shot's going to hurt him in that. But when you are shooting free throws worse than Shaq, Dwight Howard, worse than any player in recent NBA history, when that's not what you were in college, that's confidence. And that's why I said the G League. I said the G League because let him go back and play a few games where he's reminded what it's like to be one of the best players, have good games, have efficient games, and see if that just shakes or steadies his brain.
He's had big games in the NBA. His second game was a big game. Right, he's had triple-doubles. Him going down to the G League, I think, could wreck his confidence. Because, I mean, you're the second pick in the league going down to the G League. I can't think of a player that's happened to. Exactly.
I think the G League, I think guys go after him like Patrick Beverley the first game. Because, man, that's a scrappy league. Like, they got nothing guaranteed to them. Yep. Everyone is trying to come up. My thing is, learn the game and learn how to play smarter. Nick brings up a good point with the free throw shooting. We wouldn't accept this type of shooting for a guy who was 7'6". I mean, we would make we wouldn't accept this type, because even if a guy was 7 foot, you know what his his field goal percentage would be around 65, 68%. So it leads to playing scared. When you're 6'6" and you can't shoot, and you're shooting 40% from the free throw line, how often you think I'm going to the hole? I'm afraid to get fouled.
And I would imagine you're there a lot, and you hear a lot of these post-game press conferences, and you hear the questions, which are similar to the conversations we're having. And I'm sure a lot of it revolves around his confidence, his mental state, like what's inside, because we know he's got this skill set. What's the answer? I mean, what's the line they keep dishing out? What's keeping them from getting through to him somehow?
He's got a lot to work on. There's no question about it. But like I said, a lot of great point guards had that initially. He's got to learn the pick and roll game better. I think in the summer, they need to revamp his whole shot. Like, don't do it now.
Yes.
You got to let him play now.
Yes.
But in the summer, they need to change his shot.
And the free throw shooting is an indicator of that.
Yep, exactly.
I'm going to point out one small thing that is, to me, indicative of a guy who is not only has lost his confidence, but is questioning everything about his game. And that is the propensity with which he's taking threes. The last 10 games, half of his shots have been three-pointers, despite the fact that he is the league's worst three-point shooter. Cris, I know you still play, and I know you still play, and I even still try a little bit to play pickup basketball. What does the worst player on the court do? He stands back and chucks, because he knows he can't get to the rim. He knows if he puts the ball on the ground, it's going to get ripped. He knows that he's not a better athlete than the guy. So the guy that really shouldn't be out there, which oftentimes, if I'm playing in your type of league, is me, I'm just going to stand out there and try to hope my shot's good. Because I know if I go to the rim, it's getting swatted, or I'm getting bodied. And Lonzo took
and he's got no mid-range game either. That's the big. He can't finish because he's not that strong yet.
One non-3-point shot last night.
He can't shoot mid-range unless he's going to the right or to the left.
All right. Well, in my league, I always go to the rim, but you guys didn't want to know about that.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I've never left the Cavaliers' boat, if you will. Going into the season, I was 100% sure they were winning the East. When Gordon Hayward went down, I was 110% sure they were winning the East. Now I'm 80%.
The streak. What about the streak?
This current streak or Boston?
No, the Boston streak.
I never
didn't do
felt
anything.
like.
Okay.
I mean, look, it did show me that the gap between the two teams wasn't as wide as I thought.
And that they might have a brighter future and didn't anticipate it. That might be quicker.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Jaylen Brown, I think, could probably a future All-Star. You know, he's a great two-way player.
Yes.
So I like Boston, but I did not believe that they were going to beat Cleveland. I think LeBron is just too good for anybody in the East. And I think Cleveland has shown you a few times when they get up for games. Like Washington, that's a big game in the East. Yeah. They beat them. Milwaukee, twice, just because of Giannis. That was a big game early on. They beat them. Boston, we know game one. Last night, Detroit, they pounded.
They've played 6 games against teams that are Eastern Conference playoff teams, likely for this year.
That fourth quarter against the Knicks in the Garden.
Yeah. So when they want to play.
So let me ask you this about LeBron. Has LeBron ever played better basketball than he's playing right now?
I'm going to say that's tough. I mean, I've heard people say this is arguably his best year.
Yeah, his second and third year in Miami were amazing.
Yeah, I would probably go with those years.
Just because he was younger.
Yeah, exactly. He was. Here's where he was better. Defensively?
Sure.
Offensively is very close, but defensively he's not what he used to be.
He's averaging more points, rebounds, assists, and shooting a better percentage than any year in Miami. I just want to show because why are the Cavs the best team in the league? Because they have the best player in the world.
Best team in the league?
I'm sorry, the best team in the East. Pardon me. Because
I'm surprised.
I didn't say they're not the best team in the league, but I don't want to have that argument right now. I don't want to have that argument right now.
It's your first visit. Okay, don't crush.
We got time for that.
Let me just show Cris Broussard something real quick. Here's LeBron James' numbers this year compared to an anonymous player. So you'll see LeBron has him nipped in each category. Just barely more points, a barely higher field goal percentage.
Almost 58%.
3 higher percentage from 3, and almost 1 more assist per game. So that's LeBron this year versus anonymous player. Let me show you who that player is. Can we show that, please? Oh, that's 4 MVP years. So we took Kobe's points the year he won the MVP. We took Shaq's field goal percentage the year he won the MVP. We took KD's three-point percentage the year he won the MVP. We took Derrick Rose's assists the year he won the MVP. All 4 of those guys, that's their 4 MVP seasons. LeBron
so are you
this
saying
year
he's the MVP?
Well, we're 20 games in. You want to say him or Harden? We can have
right
the argument.
now, it would be Harden.
Sure, but it's
Nick
not
is
about.
not looking for a verdict. What he's doing,
he's laying the groundwork.
Yeah, he's just presenting his case, putting bricks on top of our head. So when he finally wants to put a roof on there,
what I am trying to say is, did you see that? The year Kobe won the MVP, LeBron's averaging a better field goal percentage than Shaq the year he won the MVP.
He's the second greatest player of all time.
Of all time.
Well, one thing,
I
Chris,
love LeBron.
One thing I have to ask you, Chris, is right now you see a couple things that are different in LeBron. We talked about him in Miami year 2 through 4, but his ability to be a better one-on-one basketball player, I think, is at its all-time high. And his ability off the dribble. Like his overall ball handling, to me, has improved. What have you seen, or do you think the same thing?
Well, obviously his shot has gotten better. I mean, three-point shooting has become really good.
What happened? How do you do that in your?
Well, he said he adjusted because of an elbow injury. You know, over the summer he adjusted his shot, and it's helped him in the free throw shooting as well. Which hopefully, late in games, and in the fourth quarter he's been great in the paint. He's maybe leading the league in points in the paint in the fourth quarter. Okay. So hopefully what I want to see late in games is going to the basket or posting up and scoring. Yes. Rather, even a recent game, what was their last win?
Not the game against Detroit. The 199 game is the one you're talking about.
Charlotte. He took a late 3 rather than going to the hole and either drawing a foul or scoring inside. So I'd like to see him in the paint a little bit more. I think his post game's improved too, and he's more willing to go down there. And so if he keeps working on that stuff, I think he's scoring easier than he has in the past.
Is there any possibility that other players in the league, other coaches in the league game planning against the Cavs thought, well, he's going into his 15th year. No way he's going to have last year. He's got to lose a step a little bit. Either it's going to be from the three-point range, or he's not going to drive, or his stamina, or he's not going to have the same minutes. Any shot whatsoever that all the opponents kind of dismissed a little bit that he'd be a better player than he's been the last couple of years?
Well, you always think, look, 15th year, if he began to show some rust or decline, it would be natural. I mean, look at Dwayne Wade. He's in his 15th year. Carmelo Anthony, they're not the same players they were.
3 different human beings. Well, Melo and Wade, they're human. Yeah. But LeBron, man, is not human.
It's unbelievable. And I know your argument about him being the greatest ever. The argument for him is going to be longevity, and obviously his individual numbers in total are going to
the totality of it.
Yeah.
And his being able to play at this level, at this point in his career, makes it, and I hate telling Nick this, I told him this privately, it makes it very compelling to get back into the Jordan argument, because he is amazing at this age.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.